Hey, we're the Color Guys. I'm David.
And I'm George.
And today we have a really exciting local Columbia guest with us, Emile DeFelice. Emile is the man behind Soda City Saturday morning's main event in downtown Columbia. Welcome, Emile.
Thank you for having me, David and George. I appreciate it.
This episode is brought to you by Dick Dyer Mercedes-Benz, the first Mercedes-Benz in South Carolina.
Yeah,
That's fine with us.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So you mentioned when you guys moved up from the Whaley area up to Main Street that you went through a rebranding process and you landed on the name Soda City, and that's become kind of an iconic name now for Columbia, and people recognize it as Columbia. So talk to us a little bit about that whole process and how you went through it, and whose idea was the name.
So, again, this involves Christian, but I knew we had to change the name, and it was a really simple vignette that made me realize that the all local farmers market really wasn't going to cut it for the long haul, because I was in a grocery store buying a banana. And I thought to myself, all of a sudden, why would we deny these customers a banana? That seems pretty silly. So, I'd done the all local thing, even as a producer, of course. I'm all into that to this day, and that's fine. But there's also just life and reality, and we don't have mangoes and bananas in this state. So let's sell those, and that was one of the earlier, resolution modifications, was to allow exotic out of season produce to be, fruits and vegetables to be sold. So anyway, I knew I needed to rebrand to get away from that very limiting concept. All local farmers market, and in zero public facing Soda City, documents or sites or anything like that, do we ever say farmers market. This is not a farmers market; it's a street market.
Yeah.
It has farmers, and that's great. So I knew that part of it too. I knew I didn't even want a farmers market. I knew I had to broaden the definition, broaden the title, and also I think Famously Hot had some recently come out or something like that. And while I think it's it had its use. I was never a fan of drawing attention to how freaking hot it is here, but it did have use. People could say famously this, famously that. And so it was a useful thing, and people remembered it, and that's really important.
Yeah.
But I also, you look at Hotlanta and the Windy City and the Big Apple and Hub City, Spartanburg, Chucktown, G Vegas. Everybody had a noun for a nickname.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is not a noun; it's an adverb and a descriptor. Famously hot. So you can't go to Famously Hot. So I thought, we need a name for this town. That's what we need. And so Christian would come there to the building at 7:01 in the mornings to do his computery work, and we'd sit at some long tables and do our stuff. And when this came about, people would be sitting around the table, coming and going, and we'd have just sort of like brainstorming sessions. Emile's wonderful house of crap, just whatever. It didn't matter what comes out of your mouth. It's, at some point, something needs to come out that makes sense. I was also reading these books at the time called by Paco Underhill, who was the founder of Retail Science. And he explains very clearly, for anyone out there who wants to do any branding, go to Amazon.com or your local bookseller and buy Paco Underhill's books, because they are absolutely brilliant. And he taught me, I learned from those books, a lot of just ironclad, proven concepts for branding. If you're going to brand, first of all, you got to know your target audience. So our target audience has always been and remains women. And that's just based on my logic that everybody loves women. No matter what gender or what classification you are, it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to follow a woman. If you do a man, not everybody follow a man. That doesn't make sense. So what does female targeted branding look like? I'll tell you. It's a circle, folks. It's a circle. Look at the number one example, Target. They don't have the O in their name, but they have the O as their logo. Look at Mercedes. That's an O in the logo. Most major brands, historic major brands, have an O in their name. Porsche, Marlboro, Exit Realty New Horizons. So our business cards are circular. Our logo is circular. So I know, okay, I'm
Yeah.
getting this. So I'm going to find a word that has an O in it. And I always wrote Cola SC, on the mail thing. And
Yeah.
our little joke, it's too hot to write the whole thing, whatever. But so I thought, oh, Cola Town. I didn't really like that, but I needed it to have a certain rhythm. Columbia, South Carolina Makers Market. No, never going to say those words, right? You want to go down to the Columbia, South Carolina Makers Market next Saturday? No, we don't. This is a ridiculous name. So it needed to be something da 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 da, something, but it needed an O in there, and I just didn't like Cola Town. It sounded a little too obvious to me, and so Cola, Soda City. Then you have the sibilance, da 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 da. Well, as soon as we landed on that, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's definitely the name, Soda City. Boom. And it worked great. I wanted to make a nickname for this town that other people could use, and now we see probably over 100 businesses. There's Soda City Comic Show, Comic Con, Realty, mattresses, just on and on. Soda City, this and that, and that's really pretty cool. So I was able to, sort of cast a nickname that would be useful for other businesses, as well as just making Columbia seem cooler. And so our tagline is Brain, Body, Belly, because I had gone to see this guy talk called Richard Florida. And his book, I think, is called The Rise of the Creative Class, something like that. And he talks about creative class capitals and what they have and what their commonalities are. And reading about these creative class capitals, the easy way to explain it is you have manufacturing places and then you have creative class places. Well, we're obviously not a manufacturing town. So what does creative class mean? Well, it means you take stuff that's in your brain and you type it on a keyboard or paint it on a thing and make money. That's the creative class. So you can be a legislator, you can be a doctor, you can be an artist, you can be a professor, you can be basically everybody that we have in Columbia. We make a few things here, on the industrial level. There's some pretty cool places that make cool stuff, restaurant equipment that ends up in Dubai, stuff like that. However, by and large, we're a creative class community. So the brain, body, belly thing, Soda City makes us sound cool, which we always were.
Yeah.
And then the brain, body, belly thing says to the outsiders, hey, this sounds like a creative class community. I want them to think in the back recesses of their mind. A place where, people are thinking, people are eating, people are exercising. We have the three rivers, we have all the trails, we have all the, even parks and a national forest and restaurants. And so this is a place that a person from a big city like London or New York or something like that can come and recognize. We don't have 26 million people here, obviously, but they can recognize certain elements that they're used to. A big old street market, Uber, whatever, Airbnb. So we don't want to, put off people. We like to, take the best things from these larger places and use them and leave the worst things, which is, too many people and congestion, traffic, and all that business. So I feel like it was a good play because it helped Columbia brand itself in a time that it really needed branding. I even had a friend here a long time ago who came here, spent a week with me at my house. 6 months later, I see him at a wedding in Decatur, Georgia, where I grew up. And I said, where do you live? I said, I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, where's that? Spencer, you were there for a week, 30 miles east of I-20. Like I couldn't. The dude was even here for a whole week, and it didn't land on him. For a time, I ran a retail store called Nest in the bottom of Marriott Hotel on Main Street. I guess it's Main and Hampton, and it was mind blowing to hear what the guest would say. From when they come from out of town, even if it was a Tuesday, certainly when it was the weekend, when they saw the market and all that. But we were sent here for work and we were sort of dreading it. But this place is so cool, it's amazing. Yeah. It's like, wow, it is. You're right. Even speaking of cool, the leader of Cool in the Gang even told me the very same thing. I can't even believe we're here, but this is actually a great town. Mayor Rickaman the other day did a few Saturdays ago, did a Ask the Mayor booth. So we put a tent up for him, a little table, and whatever. And I think, what did he say? It's like 7 couples
Yeah.
saw his sign and said the exact same thing. We're driving around America looking for a place to live. Can you imagine that half a dozen plus people found the mayor and had an opportunity to talk to the mayor, and they were just
Yeah.
happy driving through America looking for a place to live? And they're like, this
Yeah.
is amazing. We've never seen a market like this. We've never seen this. So many restaurants, cool little housing things downtown now. You know, these things, the multi-story things. And so, you know, that to me, like, that says it all. For years now, we've had real estate agents entertain folks who come into town and they're getting transferred to, you know, who knows, a law office or a professor at USC or whatever. And that's the way they start their weekend before they go hunting for houses. They sit them down, have some breakfast and coffee at Soda City. Look, this is what your new life is going to be like. Oh, this is really nice. We like it. It reminds us of something, you know, from our old life, whatever. So it's a great calling card. And I was just thrilled to hear Mayor Rickenman tell me that people were stopping by. So we're driving around America and this looks good to us. That's just amazing. You know, and price wise, even though right now, like, we're experiencing high prices in real estate and in other sectors, to anybody from New York, California, this stuff is free around here.
Yeah.
You know, you take New York, California money or Texas money or Arizona money or Washington, D.C. money to basically every other big city out of here in Atlanta, and you try to spend it in Columbia, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. And people appreciate that, you know.
Yes.
You got good schools and no traffic headaches, and, you know, if you locate yourself correctly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've run into clients that'll come into town like that are, you know, like, well, we've got X dollars to spend, and kind of look at them and go, you're going to have a problem with that. You know, we can find you what you're looking for, but it's not going to cost that. So
yeah, are you interested in also a lake house?
Yeah.
Two houses for this price.
Yeah, several houses. So,
and, you know, like I said, I came here with a box in a bag, and I'm sitting here chatting with the mayor these days. You know, it's like, you can make it here. You know, I could have never done the things I believe. I'm sure that my mom would tell you differently, but I couldn't have done these things in Atlanta. I could not. This would not have happened for me in a big city.
Yeah.
Whatever the metric is, certainly not the farming part, but get people closing down streets and bridges and all this stuff, or what again? No. And to be able to call, you know, folks like, again, like my great late friend Joe Taylor, who was the head of the Commerce Department, and he found me and came to introduce himself to me. He brought Governor Sanford down there, and so forth and so on. And, you know, this is like this is a great town for that kind of thing. You can have absolutely nothing, and people will give you the time of day. And if you earn their trust, you will be okay. You will advance, and for that I'm truly, truly thankful. It's been a life-changing thing for me.
Go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, this is more from just when you're walking down Soda City, like a question that came to my mind. There are so many vendors now.
Yeah.
Are you choosing the spots for them before they show up and saying you're going to be here at where? Because I was about to.
Yeah. So this is a very, very particular thing. It's like so if you owned a Nordstrom department store, you can't just let the shoe manufacturer come in and just put shoes all over the place. You can't have 4 floors of shoes. You have to be very judicious about, you know, who it is that you're allowing in, and then how do we place these things. And again, like I talked about vendors before, but, you know, there are certain groups of vendors that do not ever want to be near each other, and there are other groups of vendors who insist on being near each other. There are interpersonal things. Somebody had an affair or flirted with somebody they shouldn't have had. Somebody has skin cancer on their head, and you can't put them out in the sun. You got to put them under a tree somewhere. Or they're 80 years old, and you want them to be, you know, in a place that's easy to unload and load, you know. So there's just 1,000 little things. Actually making that map, it's funny because, you know, it's a weekly 2 or 3 hour process to make the map alone. And you'll have new vendors come and like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be there. I was like, okay, well, go talk to these 5 people who've been here for 10 years, and if one of them wants to give up their spot, you can certainly go there.
Yeah.
What do you say? So it is very complicated. That's a great question. So we always, of course, the end goal is to have a happy guest, and just as importantly, to have vendors make money, or they would never come back. And boy, do they make a lot of money. So if we have 200 vendors down there, I wouldn't hesitate to say that's $200,000 worth of sales.
Yeah.
So there's many vendors that make $3 and $4 grand in a single Saturday. So even the people who are making $600 and $700 are amply made up for that. So if you take, 8% sales tax, 10% food and bev tax, let's just even that out at 9 on 200, that's $18,000 a week that goes into the city coffers. That's amazing. That's outstanding, crazy amazing. In addition, you have rises in rents, you have rises in occupancy, which went from basically 0 to 100%. You have people renovating buildings, so adding value, rising real estate things, which also contributes to the tax. But so the whole economic juggernaut of this thing is stupendous. But it does all go back to what are the vendors doing, and where are they, and why are they there? So it's a very tricky little process. Yeah, I've toyed with the idea for the people who incessantly inquire and complain about a spot or something like that. Just how about watch Steven make the map? You can't comment, but we'll give you a little Zoom experience and watch how painful this thing is. Because there's a lot of variables. So anyway, good question.
Well, our hands off to you for what you do with Soda City, but what are, and most people know you for that, but what are some of the other things that you were involved in around the Columbia community that you want to invest your time in beyond just Soda City?
My number one priority is animal welfare. And so I am the one and only volunteer handyman fixer-upper guy at the Columbia Animal Shelter.
Okay.
And I also foster dogs. So I take dogs that are looking sorry or sick or unadoptable or crazy in the head, and I bring them to here in my house and keep them for a few months, get them socialized, get them healthy physically, mentally, and then work to adopt them. I just had a 4-month tenant, Bonnie, get adopted to an old friend in Decatur, Georgia. I go down to the shelter, which needs to be torn down, and we need a new one. And the city is in the process. They've done the exploratory reports and and all this, and everyone agrees the thing needs to go, and there needs to be a new one. So there's a process underway there, which I keep track of. But meanwhile, stuff keeps on breaking at the shelter. And when I first started 2 years ago, everybody fixed the same thing in a different way. So I had to undo like 100 different ways and institute like a platform straight up. Everything like this is going to be built like this. So I'm not going to have a rope and the end of a dog chain to raise a guillotine door for a dog. No more improvisation or whatever. So I've renovated 142 kennels completely, which is all the kennels we have, and done a number of other things from cleaning out gutters to renting a bush hog to create a dog outside play park, dog park kind of thing. So just absolutely whatever needs doing. The city can do all that, but I'm sure you've heard that the city is understaffed in general anyway. And when you get in line for whatever the services are called, well, that's not public works, support administration or something like that, whatever it's called. Anyway, there's a dang line.
Yeah.
And they can fix your light bulb in 4 months. And so I come in and say, we can fix it today, actually.
Yeah.
We sort of just cut through. I just pay for the stuff. We don't ask, just fix this stuff and make it right. And this helps the shelter employees do their job better, which in turn helps the animals. So that is my other big passion. I really love doing that. And I certainly love spending time with all these animals in a more, in this scene when I foster these dogs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we've had a just brilliant conversation with you. It's obvious you're just, a great entrepreneur. You are an icon here in the Columbia area. We've had the pleasure of talking to your friend Christian, and he just sings your praises. And so thank you for what you have given us to this town. And I don't think there's one customer George and I have dealt with when we, in the real estate business, where we're like, if you have nothing to do on Saturday morning, even if you do, you have to go down there. It's just a staple of this area these days. So thank you for the gift of that, and just staying with it over time to grow it to what it's become.
I appreciate you saying that. If you have time for a 2-minute story, a little story about Christian, and it applies to anybody listening out there who wants to start a business, or who is struggling or thinking you're on the wrong track or something. Here's the story. So I sold him produce for 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Well, then that collapsed for various, just it's too damn hard, whatever. And so I took a little break, and I worked for a carpenter for 6 months and built cabinets and stuff. Thinking, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to do pigs next. Great. So okay, arrange all that. Takes 6, 8, 9 months to grow out a pig. So finally, I had a grown out pig. Oh, take all these pigs, get pork, whatever, and then go back to Christian's restaurant. And hey, I got pork. Yeah. Oh, that's great. You're back and you're doing all your thing. I said, yeah. I said, but I got to tell you, one of the reasons I quit produce is because you were buying everything. You bought a seafood company, you're opening restaurants. I said, but when you bought the race car, which there was a picture of him in the Darlington 500 with a race car, with like all these restaurants logos all over the race car. I said, that completely deflated me. And I became depressed because I thought, I'm working so hard. I work 7 days a week. I can barely get ahead. I can't get ahead. I'm just treading water like this. And so just so you know, like I don't begrudge you for your success, but those kind of things, just keep them on the lowdown with me. I don't need to hear about it every last damn wonderful thing you're doing. And he goes, oh my God. And Emil, wait just a second. He goes, shoot, goes to the office, comes back. He comes back with a little replica of that race car. And he goes, they had just invented Photoshop. And my friend had it. And he took this little car and he put logos of all my stuff on it, and then put a picture of me in front of it, and then put that stuff in front of the Darlington 500 Speedway. None of that was. I was like, that is a reason I quit the first business, is because this joker was doing so damn well, and he was doing well, but he wasn't doing that. So he said, I'm so sorry, because that wasn't even real. It's just this tiny little car. Yeah. So just, if you're out there starting a business or have a business and you're struggling, and you don't compare yourself to other people, hey, this is not the way to do it. And if you do, then go talk to them and make sure that your person is true. But to this day, we just laugh about that because that's so funny. That just really, it just knifed me in the heart when I saw that picture. I was like, this dude, not only is he, feeding a family and better than buying this, he's got extra cash to go buy a race car.
That's a great story.
What he had was an extra $1.99. That's all the extra.
Yeah.
But thanks very much for having me, folks. And I hope this helps somebody out there who's watching this. Buy a house in Columbia. Talk to these guys. They'll give you one.
This episode of The Cole Guys is sponsored by Bell Carrington, Price & Gregg. Bell Carrington is our choice for the best real estate attorneys in town. They are highly communicative and make sure that the closing process is as smooth as possible. With offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, they can handle any of your real estate finance, eminent domain, financial services litigation, and litigation needs. Call their Columbia SC office today at 803-509-5078.